because I have not. Do you think Richard has been preparing for this all along? I do know in live streams he has mentioned he hopes the SEC was listening to him. He just tweeted again. Yet another decentralized front end software has been cited. It's Cloudflare using the running hex. He's talking about basically, this is a long ass tweet. It's basically talking about another decentralized hex front end. So do you think he's prepared for all that's going on right now?
I think that, again, all speculation. I think he saw this coming. I really do. I'm starting to think that way. I've been thinking about this a bit. I did some research too that I wanted to talk about today. Just trying to frame the difference, I guess, the different eras and the different things that we've seen him do that may point to some of this stuff where, I mean, I just don't think a lot of it's accidental. I don't think that he was shocked at all. So yeah, I think I want to take a look back in the past couple of years and just kind of go through some of the things I think are even maybe more signals than they used to be. They can mean nothing, they can mean something, you can read into them or not. But to me, when I was looking at this, I was like, I was trying to put some thoughts together on, okay, he changed his persona, he's humble Richard now. Is that like more prepared to take on legal battles and stuff? Like looking back in hindsight, you could maybe connect these strings, but back then we didn't know. It's just like, oh yeah, Richard just kind of, he goes between personalities. Like he gets on fast and fresh or fit and fresh. And he shout out to Fresh and Fit, whatever the name of your show is. I love it, by the way. Sorry for messing it up dramatically. He goes on there and, he maybe talks a different way. He acts differently, all that stuff. He gets on all the shows and does things. When he comes to America, he travels, he acts a certain way. He acted a certain way in when he was Bitcoin Maxi back in 2017 when I started watching him. And then 2020, he was like, all right, let's just dominate. Let's bring your heroes here to die. Let me just be aggressive and like tell you, shout you my ideals and make sure they make sense to you. If not, it's going to be a rough time. Let's see. I love all those debate things of like trying to get everyone on the same page. I think we agree about a lot. Like he has these masterful debate techniques as well.
Yes.
So,
about that, yes.
So that phase and then outrage marketing course, which completely worked. So again, he went, I made a tweet a while back, 2017, he had 6K followers on Twitter, around 6K. 2020, 52K. That was just between the hex time and CFD token, all that stuff. 2023, around 300K, and now 330 1,000 followers, right? A million? Is he up to a million? No, 1,000 followers.
No, 100,000.
So, can we do another 50K from here? Can we get 60K, million followers, something? I don't know. But anyways, I just want to bring up a couple of these points to go through too. Switching between BSC. So that was always taken as like a technical thing. Okay, E2.0 is coming out. That's going to be better for the long term. Back then, that's the kind of the way it was, I guess not he framed it, but the way the community framed it was, this is going to be the better path forward for longevity and just taking all the upgrades from ETH and stuff like that. It just made sense technically. Now looking back, can we read into it that, BSC arguably in a lot of ways much more centralized? And hey, if you want to not be responsible for stuff, if you want to keep failing all the legs of all the things, having a decentralized network where all the validators, we're out here, I'm out here making validator AMAs, scripts and stuff, David Feeder, Gamma, and everyone. We're out here decentralizing the network. We don't need Richard to run this network. So in hindsight, you can almost read into that being like, hey, this is like at least an extra win for him not having any effort or managerial stuff or otherwise that may come up. You never know during all the legal stuff. Mm-hmm. So again, just back to the personality change of being humble Richard. I guess I'll ask you too. What did you think when that first happened? How did you feel like that was? What play was he making to you when he first became humble Richard outside of outrage market?
Honestly, I think it was because it was advised by lawyers, or it was because of his best interest to do this. Because I think that the SEC, or at least he's been informed that the SEC has been on his tail for a while, and I think that it would have been apparent, I guess you could say, empirically advantageous to be humble and to not come off as this opulent, affluent individual. I really do think the whole humility type character is a result of the SEC. I've never met or seen anybody in my life that does a complete 180 in 2 weeks in personality changes. That's just me personally. Like, never in my life has I seen somebody who went from one personality to another personality like that, unless there was some serious mental things going on that needed to be addressed. And I don't think that's going on with him personally. I think this is just a necessary maneuver to clear the air surrounding the SEC. And quite frankly, I don't blame him. If I was in his position, I'd do the same thing. So,
well, can you imagine outraged marketing Richard going up, appearing in front of, legal people in court and otherwise, like the whole persona, right? It would just not jive with the whole ideal of like, beating this thing or, whatever the game plan is. So I think that was another thing. Again, looking back, it's back then we were like, okay, maybe just Richard does this sometimes. He changes stuff, but maybe that was strategic too. So I think it certainly could help. And then, like you said earlier, on the SEC stuff back in I think it was a Hex conference in January. That's the last time we saw him on stream, January this year. So it's been 8 months or so. Yeah. He literally like, look, SEC, hope you're listening, all this stuff. Like I protected more people than you. Yeah. Completely. I mean, I don't know. I guess we don't have the data in front of us to see how many cases the SEC took down that were legit people. And it's hard to make all this case, but at the same time, just, looking at it, talking about the ethos of the product and what these things are made for and how they're so much better than all the other stuff that's been failed and not sued and went down like FTX or, taken down otherwise, or all the things failing. Like that point is an extremely strong point. And I hope that comes up over and over and over for just the sense of character and the sense of outside of the outrage marketing and showing off. We know what all that stuff was for. It helped engagement, growth, and all that stuff. But the ethos of what he's trying to do with these products, I really hope that they use that to be like, look at all the stuff that failed and look at something that's not failed and it's not going to because it's not able to, for example, of Hex in that case, unstoppable code, right? So protecting people, all the products, what he's about, the self-help stuff, that's what I got into at first too. And then the last few months, before I go in the last few months, the last couple of years, at least, I think ever since PulseChain was incepted, I think Hex, he was very, very careful, of course, too. We know, I even remember him being on some stream. I forget who it was. I wish I could clip this, but it was so good. It was, and somebody was, kept badgering him, but who's the OA? Why don't you talk about it? Why don't you do this stuff? Why don't you tell us this? And he's like, you want me to give you expectations. You want me to, mess up. You want me to like pretend to do something that I'm not. Like you want me to like take this and give you all these things. You're asking for stuff that I cannot tell you. I not even cannot tell you, but I cannot give you. Like it's not. If I start making these promises, I start telling you who these people are and what they're doing, what their plans are. You will have expectations. You would start treating me as a company, or you start treating the product as an organization, and that's not what this is about. And it can't be about that for it to be successful. So I wish I could find that stream. That was such a good one, but he was like,
that's a good point.
It was such a concise way of saying it. It's like anyone asking, like at the most purest value, if you really want him to say, if you want him to fulfill whatever you're thinking in your mind, it's like you want to, and it's not about not being transparent or anything, but it's like you're trying to take this special, unique thing that we have that everyone loves and turn it into just another thing, just another corporation that you can bash on or dunk on or otherwise. So I just love the way you put it like that. I wish I could clip it. That was an amazing stream. So during the Hex time, that was the thing. No expectations, fails all the legs of the Howey test, all that stuff. And then during around PulseChain, it became very apparent about what we started learning about sacrifice phases. We started learning about, these things that, I don't know, some people call them ICOs. I still don't buy into that. I think they're separate. And I don't say that because my bags depend on it or any of that stuff. I literally think that the ideal, whatever the ideal might be, you can make fun of freedom of speech, freedom of movement, all that stuff. You can just say, oh, that's just a phase, that's just a cover. I really think that the language matters. I think Richard would say that. It sounds like something he would say, like language matters. The way you approach things, the way that you form ideals and groups of people, and the way that you organize things or lack thereof, the way that you get to people into a movement matters. And if everyone's moving in a direction where they depend on someone, that's a way different thing than them not moving in that direction and not depending on anyone and doing the work themselves, which is the entire ethos of the community. Although people try to forget, again, they want expectations. They're looking for a way to make this the same thing as a company, the same thing as every other token that, you know, is mostly depend on everyone else, other than maybe Ethereum. I would say that it's more decentralized than most stuff. Every other token seems like there's somebody doing some work for you. But the whole ethos depends on this ecosystem not becoming that. And that's what's so important. That's why we cannot let it fail. So the update part, sacrifice phase came around, and then started being very careful with, again, having no expectations, your ability to take money, give it away, act like it's gone, but basically the idea was you will have points. It will be a point system depending on how much you give and how early you give and different time cycles. And then once you have those points, that the idea is you're on this list, right? Your wallet is on this list of people who may or may not receive something. And you can believe however you want to believe. You know, you can call it tongue in cheek, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, it is this thing where it is covered. The language part matters. The language part means you cannot expect anything to come from this other than, you know, you can see where your money went. It went to some address that it is no benefit for you to know anything about. And just let the other magic work in the background and stop trying to make it a company. Like, that's the biggest thing. Stop trying to do that. So Absolutely. I'll pause there for a second.